Hello everyone! Welcome to the second installment to Whumptober, this time with KyouHabaKinKuni, in a direct continuation to their part of Why Date Me challenge, or Why Did You Ask Me to Join Your Relationship challenge I did recently. Let's go! As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch these videos. You're keeping this channel alive and going. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. It was certainly an unusual idea Kindaichi proposed yesterday. Yahaba had to admit as much. He wasn't one to complain about spending time with his boyfriends though, so he happily agreed to join them on a movie date in the newly opened cinema that day. He couldn't recall the last time he and Kyotani went to a cinema, not even talking them as a polycule. Their tastes were too different for them to agree, and the regret was then multiplied since they had to pay for the tickets. Knowing that put a damper on his excitement, but he tried his best to stay positive, at least on the outside. He couldn't ruin their date with his worries again. And yet, the closer they got to the cinema, the tighter he found himself squeezing Kyotani's hand. He tried not wanting to alert Kyotani about something being wrong, but at this point in their relationship, it was useless to hide anything from him. Perhaps only his recent guilt. Should we get popcorn? Or do you want something else? Snapped back into reality by Kindaichi's excited voice, he realized they had already entered the cinema. He stammered under Kindaichi's expectant, yet so innocent gaze, and then shook his head. I'm good, but you get anything you want. He forced a smile he knew wouldn't convince anyone, earning confused glances from both Kindaichi and Kunimi, and one definitely worried look from Kyotani. He turned to face him, a silent plea on his tongue only Kyotani could understand. Please don't talk about it now. Don't tell them. Kyotani did understand, though he looked anything but happy about it, and nodded before he motioned towards the screens with movies and times. Okay, what are we watching? Whoever says whatever won't get any snacks. Kunimi grumbled quietly, but then joined all of them in scanning the titles on the screen. There were movies of all kinds, from action to romance and thriller, all in all a paradise for movie lovers. However, that meant one big issue for their group. How about Adrenaline Rush? I heard that one's pretty good. Kunimi grimaced. Yeah, if you are an action junkie. Then how about Whispers of the Heart? Romance? Again? What's wrong with that? Nothing if it wasn't 5th this month. How come you are suddenly ganging up on me? Yahaba shivered, the slowly raising voice volumes making his chest constrict. Please don't argue. It's just a movie. The important thing is that we are together, right? Perhaps he sounded a little desperate, but he didn't have the fortitude to pretend right now. Out of all things to argue about, why pick the smallest ones? Fortunately, the three seemed to agree if he could judge by their expressions. A gentle nudge to his shoulder turned his attention back to Kyotani and, by extension, to the screens above the cash desks. Pick something. We'll follow your lead. That, however, posed a completely new problem. Yahaba stared helplessly at the titles, his mind running a mile a second. He knew each of his boyfriend's preferences by now like the back of his hand, and he could see at least 2 movies each of them could like. However, if everyone was supposed to enjoy the date, he had to choose something all three would like. Only romance was about to make both Kunimi and Kyotani roll their eyes. Action would make Kunimi grumble. He couldn't choose anything scary because Kindachi hated those. Comedy was about to annoy all of them, though each for a different reason. Sci-fi, maybe? No, Akira will fall asleep. Crime movies are fine, but Ken will say it's stupid. Then... Shige. He startled, only now realizing how hard his heart was beating, and he could swear the surrounding temperature rose a few degrees. Oh, sorry, I just... Pick something you like. Yeah, your movie taste doesn't suck like those two. Alright, then let's go with Threats of Enchantment. Sounds good. I'll get the tickets, you go for snacks. Don't spend a fortune. Yahaba let out a tense breath, feeling a little glimmer of hope ignite in his chest. He had no idea what the movie was about, but it sounded like it combined fantasy, action, and some romance, so all in all, it should be a good choice. He squirmed in his seat, clenching his hands on the armrests while he glanced to his sides for about the 5th time in the last minute. He wanted to watch the movie, desperately so, but his mind just wouldn't stop urging him to check for his boyfriend's reaction to it. The occasional loud sounds from the movie startled him every time, his heart jumping into his throat anytime he saw one of the three move from the corner of his eye. Whenever he reached for one of the popcorn cups, his stomach clenched as if to physically prevent him from eating anything, only allowing him an occasional sip of the soda. His boyfriend's expressions turned eerie with the light from the big screen shining on their faces, making the usually simple task of reading their mood more difficult than he would like, rattling with his very core. What if they were bored already? With over an hour still left of the movie, it would be a disaster. Was it a disaster already? He chose wrong, didn't he? Just like always when others depended on his decision. He startled when a hand squeezed his knee, making him realize he started to subconsciously bounce his leg. He turned to Kyotani, finding him looking at him with what could probably be concern before he leaned to his ear. Everything okay? If you need to go out, go. I'll come with you if you are unwell. No, it's fine. Are you sure? You haven't even touched anything. He motioned to the popcorn and the other snacks they bought, his brow definitely scrunched with confusion. Panic clenching his heart, Yahaba shook his head and forced his eyes to the screen instead. I'm fine, really. No need to worry. Knowing his boyfriends, he didn't convince anyone with it, but that didn't matter. He just needed them to enjoy the movie, because if not, then... Stop, as if they would ever blame you for real. Though, sometimes, it was difficult to say what they meant as a joke or innocent teasing, and what was a real reproach. The date went better than Kyotani expected, considering it was a movie date. The movie Yahaba chose was surprisingly enjoyable and pretty well made for fantasy, letting them discuss the various plot points as they left the cinema. Even Kunimi, ever the uninterested one, joined in, surprising probably everyone with how much he actually paid attention. However, not everyone seemed to have fun. He watched Yahaba more carefully from the first time he noticed his unrest, his concern growing with every passing minute. Despite doing a pretty good job of hiding his emotions from Kindaichi and Kunimi, he couldn't hide anything from Kyotani. And right now, the alarm bells in his head were ringing in full force. Not necessarily because of Shigeru's anxiety, but mostly because he hadn't eaten anything since morning again. And he was pretty sure he had seen him skipping meals in the days prior too. What's more, he looked like he led some intense inner battle whenever he just glanced at any food they had that day, which worried Kyotani more than anything. Damn it, how could you miss that again? What triggered it? Come on, think! Even Kindaichi and Kunimi seemed to take notice of the sudden change in Shigeru's behavior that day, but apparently weren't sure enough to ask about it up front, for which Kyotani was kinda glad. For now, that is. He hoped the tension would pass once they returned home, but seeing Yahaba fidget told him otherwise. And so when they were left alone in the living room for a while, he couldn't hold back anymore. Shige, can you come here for a moment? Panic flashed across Yahaba's face, causing Kyotani's heart to ache. I guess... What's wrong? Kyotani didn't say anything for a moment and just motioned for Yahaba to sit on the couch, following suit and squeezing Yahaba's hands. Again, You aren't eating again. Yahaba flinched, his eyes darting to the side. I am. Really? You haven't eaten anything since morning. And yesterday too. It's not evening yet. Shige. Desperate, Kyotani cupped his cheeks, curling his fingers into softest silver hair. Please, love, we both know this is bad. Tell me what's wrong. Akira and you told me you had some doubts. Is it because of that? No, it's just... He opened his mouth without a single word coming out, his lower lip quivering. Then his eyes glossed over, and it didn't take longer than a few seconds before he crumbled into Kyotani's arms, his shoulders trembling with soft sobs. With an aching heart, Kyotani pulled him to his chest, squeezing him tight to hopefully soothe at least some of the pain now haunting his beloved. He motioned to Kindaichi and Kunimi, who appeared from bedroom and bathroom respectively, to stay calm and to give them some time alone for now, and then his focus was solely on Shigeru again. Please tell me what's wrong. You know I'll help you as much as I can. For now. He pulled away, his eyes deep pools of water and pain. Are you upset with me? No. What for? For suggesting trying polyamory. I know it was selfish. I'm sorry. I swear it wasn't because you weren't enough or... Hey, shh. It's okay. I don't think that at all. I'm glad you suggested it. A broken sob tore from Yahaba's throat as he slumped back against Kyotani's chest. Please don't leave me. Shige, I love you. Why would I leave? Because you might stop. Because I'm greedy and then... Kyotani's heart shattered. He kissed the top of Shigeru's head, squeezing his shoulder to ground both of them since the dreaded pressure started to build behind his eyes too. He should have known this was the source of Shigeru's current anxiety. Once again, He sent the most colorful curse he knew in the direction of Shigeru's parents for hurting him so much that even an imagined falling off could reduce him into a broken mess. Perhaps it was selfish of him, but he hoped that now there were 4 of them in the relationship, they could finally help Shigeru get rid of the oftentimes crippling fear. It was one of the reasons why he agreed to let Kindaichi and Kunimi join them back then. However, his wish seemed to fall on deaf ears. There's nothing that would make me stop loving you. I admit it took me a bit to get used to it, but I would never change. And I love you more than ever. He let Shigeru cry it out, his mind racing to think of what to do. Now that he knew what was happening, at least to some extent, there was a chance to make it right again. They just had to put in their best work as usual. Do you want to eat something now? He wasn't sure if it was the right thing to ask, but he couldn't risk letting his boyfriend slip back into the self-destructive habits. Though, thinking about it, it might have been too late for that. But to his immense happiness, Shigeru gave him a barely visible nod. Okay, I'll let you know to get us something. Yaba's grip on his t-shirt tightened. Don't tell them, please. The desperate plea in his voice hurt, and Kyotani found himself nodding back. However, as bad as he felt for spilling Shigeru's secret against his wish, he couldn't leave their 2 partners in the dark about the most dangerous issue. They soon sat settled on the couch, each with a box of takeout in their hands and something to say. On Kyotani's inconspicuous suggestion, they sat in a way that put Yahaba between them, surrounding him with silent love and support. And judging by the way Yahaba's face relaxed and the occasional smile, it was working. Enough that he finished his noodles before everyone else and had to go to the kitchen for another box before he headed to the bathroom. Seems like he's doing better, right? Kyotani sighed, chasing away the guilt for what he was about to do. Yeah, right now. Listen, I need to tell you something, but Shige can't know about it. Tension immediately gathered around them. Apparently, saying that was enough to convey the seriousness of the situation. Even Kunimi stopped yawning and straightened up, his face mirroring Kyotani's concern. What's wrong? For now, fortunately nothing. But I need your help in keeping an eye on him in case it got bad. You probably don't remember it because he was hiding it well in high school. But a year or so after we graduated, he collapsed because of malnutrition. What? His parents destroyed him with their ideals to the point he stopped eating. Convinced him he had to be perfect and that even a kilo over the limit was something worth shaming. So he skipped meals, threw up even the little he managed to eat. He took a shattered breath, the memories of one of the worst times in their relationship flooding his mind. It's partially my fault too for not getting him the help he needed in time. He was so thin back then, I was scared he might not make it back at one point. Kindaichi visibly shivered. That's horrible. Is that why you get so worried when he skips meals sometimes? Yeah. He didn't want me to tell you because he doesn't want to bother you, but I know that if you two help, it's going to make things easier. Yeah, sure. We'll help in any way we can, right? Of course. I know. Thank you. Just keep an eye on him, okay? I can't let him get to that point again. And don't tell him you know, please. I already went behind his back with this. Both nodded silently, all of them then sharing one last look before Yahaba's footsteps sounded in the hallway. Gyatani worried he might feel the change in atmosphere, but Kindaichi quickly averted his attention by begging him to bring some sweets from the kitchen too, which Kunime followed with his usual playful banter about Kindaichi's sweet tooth. The usual squabble seemed to relax all of them again, and Gyatani could breathe freely once more. Sure, he felt bad for doing the one thing Yahaba asked him not to, but in the end, it was for a good cause. He just hoped Shigeru would see it the same way once he learned the truth. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I admit this part was more angsty than womp, but yeah, the prompt was starvation, so I just decided to go with the backstory I prepared for Yahaba this time around. And yeah, it's definitely going to come up again, obviously. Who knows? Who knows what I will do with this little bit of information. I mean, some of you already guessed from the previous parts what Shigeru is going through. And yeah, we are going to roll with this. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time.